Well, hello to you. It's Scott Picken. I'm the CEO and founder of the Global Wealth Group. I'm bringing you this weekly wealth insight from Paris. And you can see behind me there is the Eiffel Tower and the magnificent bridge. And I'm literally standing here on the river in Paris, walking up and down. So what is this weekly wealth insight all about? Well, it's basically that every single time you've got an excuse, underneath that is fear. And I learned an exercise years and years ago, and if someone goes, and what then? And so you're like, well, I wouldn't do it because of this. And they go, what then? And or because of this, and what then? And because of this, and what then? And you keep playing the game. And eventually it comes down to one of two things, two underlying beliefs that most people have. And one is that they're not good enough, and the other one is that they won't be loved. And so it's really interesting, because if you play it enough, and if you're thinking about any excuse you got in your life, and you keep playing that game, what then, you ultimately get it down to one of your underlying beliefs, which is that you're not good enough. And there's only two, and every human comes down to one of the two. I'm not good enough, or the fact that they're not loved enough. So what's the opposite of that? Well, last night I did a webinar with Clem Santo. We had a couple of thousand people join us. And he said that the most important thing that any human being needs is critical thinking. And what is critical thinking? Well, it's the ability to analyze the different scenarios. It's the ability none of us can foresee the future. None of us can understand all the risks. But what we can do is we can do different scenarios. We can understand the rules. We can put different probabilities to them. And then from there, we can plan out our lives to think about how we set ourselves up for success. And so that's the whole concept of critical thinking, where you don't live in la-la land. You don't live in a land of pessimism. But you have different scenarios, and then depending on the different flags, the different probabilities that come about, you then can change and adapt your life to take those into account. And so I thought it was a really opportune time to be able to do this weekly wealth insight, because again, most people make decisions from a place of fear. And in this time of Corona, where a lot of people are living in fear, it's created a lot of anxiety around the world. I encourage you to go and look at what's behind you, that fear, what then, and finally get it down to one of the bottom two things of not good enough or not loved enough. And then reverse the cycle and go in the other way and think about what you want in life, and figure out the different scenarios, and figure out what are the different probabilities and what do you need to do. And that's what critical thinking is all about. And so when you juxtapose with a very difficult decision in your life, and you've got fear, and I'm going through that personally right now, see it as a great sign. See it as something that should excite you, because it means you're probably making a decision that's going to take you to the next level. And that's when true critical thinking comes about, and you can use the analysis. Now, I'll put a link below, and you can watch the webinar from Clem Santo, or go and read his book, Thinking the Future, to understand more about critical thinking. But it's one of the best gifts that you as an individual can learn about, and that you can teach your children. And it's how we're not only going to create better lives for ourselves, but to create a better planet. And so that's me signing out from Paris. You can see the Eiffel Tower behind me here. The sun is setting on a cloudy evening in Paris. If you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel. We bring these out weekly as part of the wealth movement. We want to empower 1 billion people, and you too can assist that, because it's about self-belief and knowledge. And it's about once you have the self-belief and knowledge, it's then about taking action and creating the life that you want. And we can only do it by empowering everyone together, and you helping by sharing it with others. Till next week, we'll bring you another weekly wealth insight from Paris. Cheers.